Good
It's
evening,
live
everyone.
streaming. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry for the delay, but this is the Bylaws Committee. We do not have a quorum, but we do have a new member, and that's Ryan, who's here, but still, we don't have a quorum. But we will discuss certain issues. And we're going to bring them up at leadership also. And from our discussion tonight, we will have a trial period or a trial at the full board meeting on the next Thursday, the following Thursday. So it'll be like a work in progress. We're going to discuss it. We'll try it out. And then when we have another meeting, it'll be brought up because we don't have the quorum. But before I forget, I will have to read the conduct statement again. And please do not, start speaking until Ryan calls your name out after you raise your hand. Community Board 11 meetings must be held in a professional and hostile-free environment. The following rules of conduct are applicable to members of the public, Community Board 11, and the Community Board 11 staff. Any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual or individuals being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disturbing peace and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in further actions by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Electioneering for a position other than officer of Community Board 11 is prohibited. Engaging in acts of violence, including threats, are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings pending review by the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. Respect the equality, diversity, and privacy of all persons by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinion. Refrain from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. Abstain from all forms of harassment by actively discouraging it. Disseminating false information is prohibited. I'll bring up what we were going to discuss and what we're going to do. There were proposed bylaws amendments, and one of them was about the gallery session registration requirement. At one of the last bylaws meetings, and at the full board meeting, we discussed the time frame of when to sign up for the community board. There is no time frame for a gallery session. We checked, or Joanne and I and others checked with the open laws from the city and the state. There is no time. Some community boards set a time limit. Some don't. We were thinking of setting a time limit of 30 minutes for the gallery session to be held. Then the question is, well, what about the speakers and the gallery speakers? The 36 hours that Jeremy and others have discussed was really to list it in the agenda. Some community boards do not list the names of the people in the agenda, but we do, to give people the heads up of who may be speaking. However, people complained, and we are aware, because we used to allow for people to sign up at the board meeting before it began. We want to put that back in place. We will allow it, and we will try it this coming meeting again, and then we will vote on it. if you want to speak and get the heads up, you can call the community board even after the 36-hour time limit is up and let them know, but you can't call the community board at 5 o'clock on the day of the meeting because they're not gonna be there. Then you will have to come to the full board meeting and register there. So that is one of the things we were going to discuss. Is there any comment, Brian, so far?
Yeah, about that, my understanding on that was that it was so that we, board members, if someone's coming to speak, we can know what is coming up and be able to have a response. That's part of the idea for the 36 hours. Also, so that if we have a large number of people who are speaking on something, we can plan for that. It's not to try and make sure that no one can talk about something, just that if a lot of people are saying a very similar thing, like their
20 people, yeah.
their presence means something. But if everyone's saying the same thing, for me, it's kind of numbing to hear, seeing that the people up there and being able to help them coordinate with one another. So, but I guess the real question that I had is in your and Joanne and everyone's investigations, I don't see anything that requires it to be in the bylaws that we have the 36-hour registration requirement. The leadership committee's definition says that I don't want to pull it up because it's not shown for other folks but the leadership committee is responsible for setting the agenda and setting the parties that will speak and the order they'll speak in as part of that responsibility. So whether we put a registration requirement or not, that seems outside the bylaws. We can add it, but we don't have to.
We may want to add it just to be concrete. I don't know. I mean, it's just something you could think about. The other thing is some community boards, and we have checked, allow for speakers, say only 5 speakers per session. How many do we allow if we have a 30-minute session to speed up our meeting? Do we allow, if we allow 15 members, then there's your 30 minutes. So do we limit it to 8 members per meeting? And if we do run over, the chair can expand the time. So anything on that? What is?
Jeremy, I believe, had his hand up a moment ago.
Someone, and what about Ken? Jeremy? Ken?
No, I just, Ryan already pointed out, because we had this issue last month. Bylaws thought one way, but when it came to leadership, you guys did a different thing. So Ryan, ultimately, whatever you want to push for, Andy, whether it's bringing back the in-person registration, make that very clear to leadership, because leadership, Ryan's right, leadership is the one that decides the agenda.
Oh, I will do that on Thursday. I already have Veronica picking me up. No, that's on my agenda. It has to be. That's the way it used to be. And I think we'll have to go back to it because it's fair and that's the open rule law that you're giving everyone a chance. The 36-hour cuts off that chance. And then
Well, so hold on, let's be clear here. There's no law that says we have to do that, right?
Right.
That was my question, was just asking if it must be in the bylaws or if we're just adding something to the bylaws.
I think maybe it should be in the bylaws just for a concrete thing. Every community, there is nothing that states what every community board has to have in their gallery session, if they have a gallery session at all.
Yeah.
That is left to us in the state and the city.
So the reason that I'm bringing this up and kind of pushing on it is there is misunderstanding. The borough president was on News 12, I think it was News 12, yeah, and said that her understanding, I don't know if it was her personally, her offices, or the information came from somewhere else, that wasn't discussed, but her understanding was that was something the full board should have done rather than the leadership committee. And my understanding reading our bylaws is that the leadership committee sets the agenda, part of the agenda is who speaks and when. So I'm just asking from the folks who have more knowledge than I do,
I
if that's correct or not.
personally, this is just that it should be in the law to make it concrete and understood.
So
That's how so we will have to bring it up at leadership and then we will have to address it, but we cannot vote on it next meeting because we don't have a quorum, but at least we are discussing it. We'll bring it up at the full board. And then next month, if I have to have another bylaws committee meeting and I'm here, we'll vote on it. And I am sure that I'll get, Ken, you, Joanne, and it can then go right before the full board and they'll agree to it.
the other thing about that, so if we get rid of the 36 hours, but we enforce.
No,
If we decide not to do the 36 hours, because right now it's the 36 hours for everybody, right? There's no sign up in person.
right.
So if we get rid of that, or and make sure it's 36 hours to be listed on the agenda, but then we still cut it off when the meeting starts, well, isn't that still, and cutting it off when the meeting starts is as arbitrary as 36 hours before. We don't say in the bylaws that we have to cut it off when the meeting starts.
But
Presumably it could go to,
giving the,
to me, it seems like two arbitrary time cutoffs. I'm okay with it either way. I prefer the 36-hour registration requirement to the 30-minute time limit, because with 36-hour registration, we can figure out how to make sure that everyone gets to say what they need to say and also not take 2 hours. With people without the 36-hour requirement and in-person signups, then you run a real possibility of having a number of people who show up with something to say, being told that, well, sorry, 30 minutes is up, and the chair may or may not say, we can continue going and you can say your piece. I'd rather know who's coming. The board can respond appropriately, can refer them to a committee if that's the more appropriate place for it. And if there are a lot of people speaking on the same thing, help them coordinate, help them talk to one another so that we can see all of these people who have a feeling on something.
but suppose something comes up within 5 hours of the meeting, something very, very important. That something happens and you want it discussed. So giving them that time frame of signing up at the meeting, gives them that option. So you could have both. I would rather have both than to have just one or none. So you give it, how many are gonna sign up the last minute? You're not gonna have 30 people sign up the last minute because we are limiting, and we could limit in our thing, as some community boards do, they limit it to only 5 speakers at the thing.
Yeah.
How many we have? We could say 10, 2 minutes each, and then see what happens. And if time, we could extend, the chair could extend it for 5 minutes or whatever. And very often, what I find is that in the board meeting, there are board members who maybe aren't always listening to what's going on, and they're each asking repetitive questions. Well, if they paid more attention, maybe the one question that was asked will answer everybody's question.
Yeah.
Right. Sandy, if
So-
I may,
Hand must be raised.
it's
Go ahead.
Cynthia.
Go ahead, Cynthia. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Treat everyone fairly.
2 points I want to clarify. One is that in no moment has public input been eliminated in any way, shape, or form. Public input has continued to be part of the gallery session, our full board meetings. We have been following the city charter in that respect. I did have a conversation with Kira prior to our last, or prior to the News 12 report. And I did point out that there was nothing in the city charter or in our bylaws that I could find that said that we could not do away with the in-person sign up. So there is that. You are correct, Ryan. There's nothing that says we
There's
can't
nothing.
do that. And by doing that, it does not eliminate public input because the public input is still there. The public still has opportunity to sign up to speak. It's just within a certain time frame. Now, if the full board decides that we'll do away with the 36-hour, with the 36-hour idea, fine. If we're going to continue with the sign up in person, fine. But I just wanted to make sure that we clarified those points. One thing that Jeanette suggested, which I mean, I think may be a compromise,
I mean,
was,
Jeanette Wilson.
yes,
Okay.
was to do the 36-hour, require the 36-hour registration, but maybe allow for 2 in-person signups to kind of accommodate people who may not, have access to internet or may not be able to sign up online.
Well, that's what we're doing. The 2 signups, that doesn't change what I said. She's just giving you a number. We could have 5 signups. Why limit it to 2? Because, all right, Rich Reynoso he's had his hand raised. And go ahead, Rich. Rich?
Hey, everyone. I just want to clarify my question, and maybe I'm not 100% sure right now. Did we move last meeting during our full board meeting to implement the 36-hour? What was implemented at the last full board meeting?
Nothing really. As
Okay,
far as I
so
remember,
thank-
it was supposed to be a trial.
Yes, it was a one-time for that meeting procedure,
But-
and I think
2 times, Rich.
was a-
November and December.
I would love to see the minutes for the meeting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So November, December, but for January, we're going back to normal.
It seems like it, yeah.
No, I mean, it has to
We'll
because
talk
it
about it on
impacts.
Thursday. We'll talk about it at the leadership, but that's what it's almost seems like.
No,
But
what
with
I'm,
the
okay.
That was also the recommendation from the borough president's office.
No, that's, and no, for a fact that I'm bringing up, we're going back to regular order this Thursday. I'm gonna pitch that we go back to normal. No, if bylaws doesn't have quorum right now, it was supposed to be at this meeting. So, I mean, it is what it
That's
is.
why we're discussing it,
Yeah,
and
no, I
we'll-
know.
and
All
we'll
right,
make it aware at the leadership.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have one request, again, if we can require, or whenever they fill out the slip is when the order they're gonna speak in.
Bring it up Thursday.
Right,
Thank you.
okay, order, all right, number of speakers and the order of speakers, okay. All right, we have someone in the gallery. Mention your name.
Well, hold on, Sandy, did you cover the agenda fully?
I thought
Because
I
there were
did.
other proposals that were
Oh,
in writing. These are ones that
Oh, right, okay. We did the gallery session, the public, 2 initial meetings. Those registered will be called one first, and then, Frankie's Nunez's
What-
suggestions. He
So,
made
no,
some
what-
suggestions, which I thought we already covered. But you want me to?
But before that, the proposed amendments that were on the full board agenda in January, I don't know if you covered that? Or
No,
December.
no, we didn't.
Okay, do you want me to share the
Read them,
screen? Would that be helpful?
Yeah,
Okay, hold on. Okay, can everybody see my,
no. All right,
There it is.
yeah, it might be the connection's a little off tonight, maybe? Do I need it? Well, hold on, so, Ryan?
We can see it and we can zoom in, so. I mean,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can zoom in too, but let me click on here, number 3, proposed amendments, which were on the full board agenda. So these are track changes. If
Right.
they're approved, it would be from the new bylaws would be January. So a lot of little tweaks, like putting in language, like the full board, oops. You see, still, hold on.
You took it off, Jeremy.
Yeah,
I don't know why
sorry.
if we say the board, I think we would assume that it's the full board. Why do we have to write?
Well, we have also, there's a difference between the board and the executive board.
That's right.
So,
But I think if it was the executive board, we would say executive board. To me, the board is the full board.
Yeah.
It's not the you're talking about the community board and then the board, which to me, and I think other people would think is the full board.
Well, the reason for adding that, and I assume that this is covered later on, if it is referred to as full board instead of just the board further down, then you need to have that explainer at the
Well, then we
top
have to
just
see
be
what's down
complete.
further.
So I assume that the
Yeah,
reason
just-
it's up there is because it says full board down below.
in case
I
anybody's
don't think that that's
confused,
a big deal. I think that we can just add that. I don't think it changes. It's not a substantive change to the bylaw. It's just,
Right.
you know,
there's a lot of
You
things like
just want
that.
the word full put in, basically.
Want to cover all of the different
Yeah, well, but
abbreviations or shortenings that are used throughout
But-
the document.
I will have to see. Okay.
Yeah, because the term is used throughout, but it's not actually defined what it means. And here at the top,
I think it's
remember,
always
this is
been
a legal document.
It's always been understood. I would never think of the board as the executive board or the leadership board. It's the full board, but
I know,
If
but when
that's
you come
what-
to legal matters and you want to assume things, that's when you get in trouble.
no, yes, I know. And then we know what happens when you assume. We know that.
Yep, all right. So there's a lot of little tweaks like that. More substantively here on the bottom of page, top of page 2, end of page 1, we talked about getting rid of the electronic certificate. Right?
Yeah.
I think we all agreed upon
Right.
this at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was something that the old chair wanted and it was never even done. And it made no sense,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just eliminate it.
okay.
Yep, and then, again, a little tweaks. So
Oh, that's-
repetitively, the
That
word
whole
chairperson
thing.
appears.
The
Both
board
Bernadette
chair.
and, hello?
So you have the board chair. So do you want to put down the full board chair or just the board chair? Referring
No,
this
no, no.
point to,
Can I, Sandy,
yeah.
can I just explain
okay.
if it's easier, I just explain it and you have questions? That'd probably be quicker.
Okay,
I mean, these are just little tweaks. It's just, it's
yeah,
an unnecessary word, person, chairperson. So both Bernadette and Cynthia prefer to be called chair of the board versus chairperson. So getting rid of the word person saves us space and throughout a lot of spaces throughout the document. And versus chairperson of the board chair, the board chair. The full board is a shorter word. Again, these are not substantive things.
yeah.
Let's go to more substantive things. Hold on. Okay, so here, board officers eligible for appointment as chair or co-chair of a standing committee, although such practice is discouraged. It's kind of like the voting in leadership, except for this is more of a bind for us for some of these committees. But again, it's not disallowed. It's just ideally, board officers focus on their positions as officers. And this is tweaking so this is all about the removal, the investigative committee, calling it the investigative committee. This is, the thing that we went through last year for the first time ever. So giving timelines, 15 days following the adoption of a resolution for removal. And then calling it the investigative committee, because when it was voted to be approved, I remember Veronica and staff were trying to hash out what should it be called? It shouldn't be called the removal committee because that just doesn't sound, it's right. So
Right. You don't know if it's
investigative committee,
or not.
30 days, that's just a legal thing. Cutting unnecessary language. So this is fairly clear. This is on the website.
Making it sound
again,
like
more-
a Supreme Court decision with a minority
again-
opinion. Okay.
Yeah, touching up all this language. This is a more substantive thing. At least one standing committee. Standing committees, while non-standing committees are important, like bylaws, standing committees are more important, right? So
Yes,
the idea is that everybody's appointed at least one standing committee.
I would say not more than 3, not 4. Because most people, it's just too much on their plate if they're doing it, and many of them don't have the time and then can't show up and can't really do their job. And there were people who had 4 committees. And it's just too much. So I would say not more than 3. That's pretty
Cynthia, you still in?
And I know from experience in the past and in the present, I'm thinking of the future.
Cynthia, you still here?
Yep.
I think 3, Cynthia, not 4. No more than 3 committees.
I think leaving it at 4 is okay because it doesn't commit anybody to go up to 4.
But it might in the future, we don't know. And we're making an assumption that
And I was
someone might
before,
want to be on a 4th committee, saying, oh, like the gung ho, and then you know what happened.
I mean, before June, I think I was on 4, I was on at least 4 committees.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't. That was my choice. But, just because it's there, it says not more than 4. So it's just
know,
setting the upper limit. It's not saying, we have a minimum of at least 1. We're not saying that
Yeah, that
they
makes
should
sense.
or they have to. So I think leaving it is fine.
I think I agree with you that it shouldn't be, I
This
certainly
is
don't want to
4, go put
4.
that to 3.
But ultimately, the person who's in charge of it is Cynthia, and she can decide,
Yeah.
get some idea on how much these folks can take on or not, and make a decision on that
These
too.
changes don't really have to go through the whole board to be voted on, I don't think. Do they? These minor adjustments?
I
Yeah,
don't
it
imagine
should
that
be
like each
official.
line will be talked
Yeah.
about, but it'll be talked about as a whole.
Yeah.
And disseminated the agenda.
You can see how much unnecessary language is being cut, right?
Yeah, a few
So-
minutes here and there, a few words.
No, it's not a few. It's this is just one. This is just the bottom of one page. You can see all these
Right.
red marks, red crossouts.
I know.
So, all right. So more small stuff. Sergeant at
Yeah.
Arms. This is when this is one of the positions first created. Unnecessary language. Adding the investigative committee. And it is recommended that all members serve on 3 committees. That's based on what you were saying, Sandy. That's a little ridiculous, right?
Yes.
That every, all right. Business conducting between chair, executive board. Okay, so standing committee shall move business to conduct or when the committee chair. So originally it's just committee chairperson. So committees should meet when the committees think they want to meet, one, not just the committee chair, or if the executive board determines there's a need. So that's a small, but nevertheless, a slightly substantial change. Chair, hearings and meetings, emergency meetings. Okay, attendance. Record of each member's attendance shall be included in the minutes of each meeting and shall be reported to the Borough President's office. So when the Borough President's office asks us for our minutes, if they're not on the website, then we give them to them. But other than that, I don't think we need to proactively send them the minutes. Ideally, they're going to be published on the website. We do got October's up, but we're behind on December and November, but at least October's up. There's something else I could say about minutes too, but whatever, I'll leave that for another time.
Okay. So you're just changing some words, yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
there
there
are here a bunch
really
of places
fairly-
where.
Yeah, I see what he did, yeah.
Yeah, the fairly minor changes. Okay, this one.
Personally,
Comprehensive monthly written report.
Jeremy,
Like,
we better have this ready and able for the full board to see, or else we'll be there till midnight.
this was on the last month's agenda, Sandy.
Well, and
Right.
like has been said, I mean, Veronica said it, and now
Yeah.
Juan has said it, with respect to the Economic Committee. If you have something to say, come to this meeting. Don't bring your 7 questions to the full board. That's not the place for it.
Right. Well, that's why when
They need to have read it before.
when someone comes, I invite them to come to my committee meeting because they'll have all the time they want. And then, and it'll be, on view
Mhm.
and it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so going back to, under my job description, basically, present one comprehensive monthly written report. So it was created in 2013. I can go into detail if you want on it, but long story short, it was created as a way to help me, and it's been used for anything but to help me, especially when I'm busy trying to do full board meeting minutes. Unfortunately, it seems like unless I'm somehow actively working on full board meeting minutes, they don't get published. Even though this goes into what, committee minutes are done, right? Because the only reason Ryan's minutes got published is because I worked on them. They don't always need to go through me. Not everything needs to go through me. Maybe I would be able to do a comprehensive monthly written report. Then again, I really don't have time for that. So I did get rid of that. That was created. My predecessor never had to do that. So unless there's questions about that, I think that's really it. Let me just make sure there's nothing else. Okay, this other thing. Minutes of each hearing shall be filed with the president. Again, we don't need to do that. It's on our website. Ideally, it'll be on our website.
Say that again, Jeremy.
And then, yeah, there's one other thing, Cynthia, if you don't mind.
Yep.
We don't have it in the description of economic regarding cannabis licenses, which they do review. And so the way it's currently worded, it's not accurate. So it's updating the Economic Development Committee description. And that's really, I think that's it. I'm just going to double check, Cynthia. Go ahead, Cynthia. You're saying?
No, you were somewhere a minute ago and I wasn't sure where that was.
I think page 15.
He had said that striking the requirement to file minutes with the borough president's office, and that's not really necessary because they're available on. I mean, I
Online.
imagine that was written when it wasn't on a website, and you had to physically file a piece of paper. So it's no longer really all that necessary.
Yeah, we're since 2019, community boards are required to have websites and publish minutes on those websites.
I know.
So these bylaws, remember, go back to 1977, approximately.
I don't know.
So that's it for these small changes. I know when it comes to like the 36-hour rule or anything else, we have to put that in writing. If we want to go with that, but, we'll talk about that leadership.
All right. Ken,
Right.
what do you think about putting it in writing?
He had
Yeah,
problems.
that's all.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, hopefully next. All right, Rich. Your hair, I guess. he
Yeah, no,
just-
my hand's up. I have a quick question. Everything that was, I don't want to be difficult, but I have to say this.
Of course you
Every-
don't.
Everything that was just stated should be written down. Every little change that was just mentioned should be written down, submitted to Sandy for any changes. This is where we
It
forget.
is.
It was.
It's
It was.
It is? Okay, just making
It
sure.
was on the
'cause
December agenda. All those
Okay.
track changes.
All
As
those
you
track
see
changes,
it. Yeah, that was on the December agenda. It's on the bylaws agenda for tonight. Yeah, it's in writing. All the
Okay.
track changes are there. So let me share the
And I
screen. Hold on,
think we should
let me
bring it up.
show you. Hold
I'm
on, let
not
me
on the
pull it up
committee.
again.
I'm not on the committee. I'm good. I was just bringing up a point. That's all.
All right,
Yeah.
Jeremy, we'll
Since you
bring it
brought
up.
up, I want-
Bring the
so hold on.
changes up.
Hold on, can
I'm
you see
sorry.
the screen?
I can't.
Yeah, it's,
Sorry.
Yeah, so
We'll
right
bring
here,
the
you just
changes
click on the
up,
hyperlink.
the
And
leadership,
that's where it takes you.
and that's it. I think the leadership should just make the changes and just agree to all the changes without going before the full board.
Well, it's probably
Okay.
go to the, I mean, I don't know. I
I don't
know
know.
the
What do you think,
process, but
Jeremy?
It has to go to the full board anyway.
I don't think-
Bylaw.
You have to, bylaws have to be voted on to be amended officially.
Probably by the bylaws say.
Yeah, so, all right, well, we'll bring it up and then we'll bring it up at the full board meeting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are just the
It's,
little
it's,
piddly
mostly
stuff.
it's just, yeah, tweaking a word or two. Is
So-
there any other, are there any other questions?
So what do you think about,
The gallery, who's took Cynthia?
yes. So what do you think about sending this document to the full board so that they can review it? I mean, I know leadership is gonna look at it,
Yeah, and I had it before, yeah, I got it.
but I
In the
think
mail.
the full board also needs, if we're planning on voting on these changes, then the full board should have it before the meeting so that we don't spend an hour going over it.
And ask them, or I would say, if once we send it to the full board, to ask them their opinion, if they think these changes are okay, or if they, could think of another one before. No, Just no, maybe not, if we had to, they'll change every word. Let the full board see it before, and then vote on it at the meeting.
Maybe send them something out pointing them to this agenda, because it's already, like
We've
there's
already
a show,
said
it's
we want
already
it.
out here. It exists in the world.
We said we wanted to tweak it, and we have.
Yeah.
So, just let the full board see it. And make sure you have the red in it and the crossing out, so that they see exactly where. All right, Cynthia? Yeah, okay, she did the hands up. Okay. Are there any other questions or concern?
I can go to?
But,
Yeah,
Great.
there's no one here. Go right ahead.
Who's next?
Say who you are. Oh, wait. Uh-oh.
Well,
Go ahead, all right.
Sandy,
Wait, say your name.
Rox, okay, moment. Make sure, Ryan, make sure I get cut off.
I am timing everyone for 2 minutes.
All
Thank you
right,
very
hot
much.
fan.
I'll give you a 30-second warning.
Quite well, the BP at the News 12, and Ms. Gannon told me the same thing. That nothing that any committee votes on, no matter what, cannot be done while the majority of the full board vote. That was not done. And it seems like certain members of certain committees, that's why they want to join every committee, are doing things outside the board, and that's undemocratic, and that's illegal. Also, in your own bylaws, that any change to the bylaws must be adopted by the majority of the full board.
All right, so
Yeah,
that's.
wait. Interrupting a gallery session is part of your bylaws, and when you implemented the 36-hour rule for online WebEx, you also did it to the full board, to the bylaws committee and the full board. But this time, you decided not to do so. Not you, and you did it on the trial. And Ryan can make smirks all he wants, but that was wrong. And secondly, you cannot, I was at the December bylaws, and both you and Joanne said clearly, and so did the chair, and she was notified by Ms. Gannon that but they had to do it to a full board vote. You said they would gallery session provider. I sent an email to this manager. He did not acknowledge it. So when I went there in person, in the cold, I was denied with 4 other people to speak at the full board meeting because there was no gallery session provided to us. And lastly, no, I know it's wrong.
I'm
It's wrong.
sorry, yeah.
It's not your fault, but what they do is agenda by certain members, including the district manager, to not to get things on the agenda, to silence people. And regarding the time limit, first of all, you have not held public hearings like mandated by the city every month. Since almost a
30
year, there's been
seconds.
no public hearings. And you have done no minutes, so no one has any idea what's going on in the committee. So when they come to the full board, you can tell them, oh, the committee has to report something when there's no minutes to report or what happened. What you're doing is wrong. You're negating public input because you don't want criticism, not you, but certain members, and to do what they want, not only against the will of the people, against the will of their own board. That's disgraceful and illegal. And you have someone here who joined this bylaws meeting just to intend to divert the issue. Thank you so much.
Next, say who you are.
Sandy, if I may,
Fine.
Sandy,
And then I'm gonna have to have.
There's
time for-
someone, another gallery, and then is that Jeremy?
Sandy, remember we had somebody that sent something in writing for the gallery, I think we should, and it is on the agenda as per your request. I think we should probably turn to them first,
Yeah,
right?
he doesn't have his hand raised.
Ronnie was-
No, I know, but I think you should talk about his.
But
suggestions.
but
He just
let
submitted
Ronnie
it.
speak, and then we'll go to Mr. Munoz.
Yeah.
All right, Ronnie, just state your name, your full name.
Hit the button.
Going.
So,
Name.
Donald Colangelo. Can you see me?
No, we have to know when they're typing it up.
So, again, as Roxy says, 2 or 3 months, no memos go out. Then it seems that they have board meetings at the full board meeting where everybody starts discussing stuff. The meetings always start late. Last month, they decided they were gonna have a liquor license thing. I understand, maybe the days got moved and they had to do it then. But then the meeting starts a half hour late. The meeting before that, 25 minutes late. And you want to limit the gallery sessions because we're taking up too much time, which is nonsense. The gallery session for the public to speak should be I understand you don't want to have 100 people, but I've never seen more than 6. So maybe you want to limit it to 10, that's 20 minutes.
That's
Out of
reasonable.
everybody's time. And then if there's questions, maybe it's 30 minutes. But the people need to be informed. For not having the minutes out for 3 months because you can't get to them, that doesn't really sound right. Leads people to believe that you don't want them to know what's going on. And then you get negative vibes. Nobody wants to go. Nobody wants to be involved in the community because they're never told what's going on. And like I said, it's almost like meetings like this one, they're having at the full board meeting. Oh, we didn't meet. Oh, we didn't meet. We didn't meet. And now you don't have a quorum.
30 seconds.
So now we're all here just spinning our wheels. We can't vote on anything because there's no quorum. So it's sort of, you're here, whoever else is here. But I know you can go online and do it, but it's not happening. So I don't understand that the gallery session has to be cut back because they start late and we don't have time. We gotta go.
If I may, the
Yes.
reason Joanne was coming, in fact, she was gonna take me here. She wound up having an emergency ear infection, so then we would have had it and we would have voted. So sadly, but at least we are discussing it here and it'll go up and we're gonna try the trial, which I think is a good thing. And I hope no one else complains. And then I'll have to have another bylaws meeting next month. And then we'll vote on it. And
Nobody complains, it's just that, it makes people think like, where are the October meetings?
Okay, now I have to look at yours.
Where's the December? And then they go like, how come there's never meetings? Like the economic report. What happened with that? And they go,
All right, who's up now?
Sandy,
Who is this?
Jeremy.
Yes.
If I may, I think he brought up a point that's worth raising that you and I had spoken about, and I've spoken to Cynthia about it. So, we get complaints that sometimes a lot of the time that's being taken is, we discuss things amongst ourselves. And so I'm going to throw this out there for the committee. When something's voted on in committee and then brought to the full board, we should maybe limit the discussion. Like the gallery, no more than 4 questions or comments.
Yeah.
If it was voted on in committee, right? Because ideally, everything is, I will quote Al D'Angelo here. The full board is not the place to have a committee meeting,
It's right.
right?
It's right. It's true.
So that's one idea. That's also the idea for the 36-hour registration requirement, because ideally, Mr. Colangelo will come here versus the full board to discuss these issues, because committee is really where this stuff should be hashed out. So,
Well,
There's one thing I need
Sandy
to
or
clarify.
Cynthia.
There's one thing I need to clarify for the record. There was a gallery session in the November meeting and in the December meeting.
Oh, now he's
To say that there was no gallery session is categorically
But
false.
gallery
There was a
split.
gallery session.
Oh, that was because it was cut off. Now we are reinstating that one.
Against the
But there
open
was, but
We're,
I am only stating what
so
happened.
we're getting.
Now we are going back to it.
Understood, the chair is the one that
All right,
decided to go against.
but she was just saying, we did have a gallery session,
No
but
gallery
people
session.
will cut it off at the 36
Correct,
hours.
Sandy, I agree
That's
with you.
all that she wanted to make that point. But someone said no gallery
No
session.
gallery slips, I said.
Well,
Slips.
well, maybe she thought you said session, but there were gallery sessions.
That's were denied.
But I'm just,
Thank you, Sandy. I understand.
you're welcome. Okay, wait.
Okay, so Sandy, Grace had her hand up first,
Yeah.
and then Diana
I wants
finished.
to rebut what he.
Ron, yeah.
Yeah, right on the rebuttal.
Who,
Well, since Jeremy is in charge of the meetings, he says now, no 4 questions. At the meeting, you should have said that to begin with and not here. You say it there. This isn't the place to have a committee meeting. Since you're in charge, you should be taking control of the meeting instead of letting everybody go willy-nilly all over the place.
well, what he's saying is whatever we're talking about here is discussed and then we just bring what we discussed to the board to vote on or whatever.
He said only 4 questions, so he should be in charge, like Al Angelo said. He
Well-
should be in charge of the meeting and take control.
That should be the sergeant at arms, so that's,
Well, I guess,
someone should though, not like you're,
semantics. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
the sergeant at arms.
someone needs to do it.
Yes.
That's the important part, yeah.
All right,
And this is my first meeting of any of it. I usually just go to the full. I don't come to this.
yeah, that's true.
Thank you for coming.
It's coming, okay. Now, I think Mr. Munez might like to say something. Mr. Munez, are you there?
You want me to share what he,
Or you want to share what he
We've
said?
got it pulled up. I
Yeah,
share it, read it, whichever.
This agenda. This
yeah,
agenda-
here's what he said.
hold on, I'll share it,
Okay.
No, I think it's Mr. Munez,
Right.
Munez, if
Yeah,
you'd like to
he
speak.
sent in a whole bunch of suggestions, some of which I have already stated, even before. Go ahead, Jeremy.
All right, so I'm sharing this. I did redact his email address, so there's no
Yeah.
private personal information being shared.
Yeah, I mean, I have it on my phone, but,
Here's his proposals. The 36-hour registration change should include either online registration or phone registration.
well, that's. what they
Information
do.
should be included. Yeah, I mean, as long as they register 36 hours in advance, I don't know if it matters how they do it. But that's his suggestion.
Right,
Because they could come in the office too,
right.
if they really
Like
want.
really up to like either 4:30 on the day of the meeting, because you have to get ready to come over to the place with all the
No,
equipment.
but if we had the 36-hour rule, they show up the day 2 days before or whatever, the week
Well,
before,
they have that too.
month before.
We have both.
They want to sign up a month in before, we'll do it. Mr. Colangelo did that in December or November. So gallery, if the session is limited to 30 minutes with a maximum of 2 minutes per public speaker, it should allow for up to 15 speakers and should not include time initiated by board members. There should be additional limit on the number of questions board members can ask. Okay, so that was what I just proposed or suggested. What was it?
Jeremy? He had,
Yeah.
Mr. Muniz is raising his hand and had unmuted himself a minute ago. May want to speak or read it himself.
Yeah, and actually, we kind of addressed what he said, but not with 15 speakers, with a maximum of 10. Because here then, you would, it would go over more, although
It's only 45
only
minutes.
had, we've only had, a large number,
Can-
maybe twice. Yeah,
Yeah, if he's able to speak right now, just Grace will get to you. Sorry. Mr. Muniz is here. Is he
Yes,
able to
yes.
speak now?
yeah,
You hear me?
Yeah, we
yeah,
can hear you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I just want to some
Now-
suggestions and everything.
something is, you're not clear.
We're not able to hear
Can you hear
you.
me?
You're
Hello?
muffled.
You're muffled
Can you hear me better now?
a little better, yeah.
I think I'm having a little problem with my network. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Hi. I think on the gallery section, there's some tweaks that could happen that will actually we would not have any problems with, having 15 speakers at the gallery section. One of them is actually having the board members actually look at these videos and everything and get acquainted of what's happening throughout the committee's meetings. Then that way, when we come to the general full board meetings, they're aware of what's happening. If they have any questions, they have already, looked at the videos and everything. That's one. I think the biggest issue here is that you guys are concerned with a lot of people speaking. Unfortunately, those things are always is going to happen, especially on big issues like land use. I think that's where you have the biggest problem, where you have a lot of people that want to talk and everything. By integrating some of these committees, and then when a big issue comes to the agenda, especially with land use, you could have a special meeting regarding land use, to that specific issue, and then everybody that's going to speak on those issues are able to, allocate those slots, those 15 slots for that. That's one of the suggestions, but, we need to have the board members look at these, join these videos, and if they can, when they get a chance, go to YouTube like I normally do. Sometimes, I get a chance at 11 p.m. and I, go to see what happened at the community board meetings and everything. I think that's the first things you guys should try to work on and everything.
Next time,
Well, he's saying work in the committee, which is what we're gonna try to do.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We have to have all these board members, really look at these videos, or just whenever they get a chance before the full meeting, so they are aware of what's gonna come up in the agenda. Because right now, look, we when I spoke at the last meeting,
Recognized to speak at the gallery session,
All right, David, yeah,
because I think the same amount of time should be given to each person, and I don't think the same amount of time is being given to each person.
I didn't hear anything at all. I don't know.
over 2 minutes. Did we use
I
time?
said, yeah, I had time, but I said 30 seconds. I said time, and then there was a pause.
Listen, I'm having network issues, so I'm just gonna.
Right. So, well, the time is up, though.
Thank you, Dave.
I mean, the proposals are here on the agenda. It's linked to the agenda. So maybe the committee, the committee received, I don't think Ryan received this in an email because he just got appointed to the committee. But I'm sure Ryan can figure out how to find it, right?
If you want, I
Right
could
here,
send
yeah.
it to you.
No, that's on the agenda. Yes.
Yeah,
We do still have a couple other folks who'd like to speak.
Right. all right, now we have Grace, who's been waiting patiently. Grace, are you
Thanks,
there?
Sandy. Hi, everybody.
2 minutes.
The issue to me, it seems that you guys want to shorten the meetings, not be able to have the meetings last till 11, 12, 10, whatever. I get it. Everybody wants to go home. But I think you're looking in the wrong place. Instead of going after the people in the gallery who really only come once a month, because that's the only time we can come, you need to look at streamlining your participation. For example, I've been coming to these meetings for a good over 10 years. And there are people on the board that have been here forever, for a long time, that still don't know how to work a mic. They still don't know how to do certain things. You're always looking to Jeremy. Jeremy is supposed to be working for you, not the other way around. So Jeremy should not be running the meetings. He should have everything organized, especially with the mics. Now, if you know you're going to have committee reports, you already know in advance what committee reports you're going to go. Who's going to be number one, who's two. Why not have the mics set up so that at the time you have them committees? Everybody's always fumbling with the mics, tapping it. Nobody knows what they're doing. That takes up time and is very distracting. And then it comes to when people have questions. Some people don't stop. They keep going. If you limit your members to 2 questions, like I believe that's the the way it's set up, you got to
Correct.
limit them to 2 questions, maybe even 1 question. But the things with the microphones and not knowing procedure, the only people who should be a little hesitant in the board meetings are the absolutely new members. The people that have been there a while should know exactly what they're doing, should know exactly what's in the bylaws, should know exactly how to operate and streamline yourselves
I'm
so
up.
that you can have a smoother meeting.
Wait, 2
And
seconds.
that's my 5 cents.
30 seconds. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have Diana. 30, what, 2 minutes, Diana.
Thank
Make
you.
it fast.
So this meeting was very different from what I thought it would be. When my Literary Agents Association revised our bylaws, we
Just
did
get
it
to the
like,
facts.
She's
the
got her
2 minutes.
excuse me, wait,
Why don't you start over and give
Okay.
them the full 2 minutes?
All right.
thank you. So this meeting was very different from what I anticipated. When my Literary Agents Association revised our bylaws, we did it very carefully word for word and really paid a lot of attention to exactly how things were written. And in the gallery section, it starts with a sentence that says, every public meeting shall ensure the public's right to speak, with a section on each agenda called gallery session. So I think the board really needs to figure out, what does that mean, ensure the public's right to speak? If that's part of the bylaws. And does ensuring the public's right to speak conflict with placing limitations on that right? The gallery sessions at community board meetings are what's called a limited public forum, which is a forum designated by the government or some aspect of the government, dedicated solely to the discussion of certain subjects. Any restriction on speech in a limited public forum can be made, but it must be viewpoint neutral, reasonable in light of the purpose served by the forum, and not selectively denying access for speech on the subject specifically allowed by the limited public forum. Also, when we revised our bylaws,
30 seconds.
we sent the bylaws out and every member had to read them and then sign to indicate that we'd read and approved them. So that might be something good to do. And for the removal of an officer section, I think it's still missing a lot of specific deadlines and time periods. I think it needs to be revised even further than what it's been revised in this draft.
That's time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, we have Mr. Press.
Right.
You have your 2 minutes, Robert.
Good. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to give them first, and you can ask them one by one. I'd like to know when the bylaw committee decided to meet to change these bylaws and when it did meet, because it had to be a public meeting. Number two, any change should have a date at the end of the paragraph when it was changed to show when the change was made. I've been on bylaw committees before, and this is, if you look at Community Board 8, you'll see dates next to every time we change the bylaws. The other thing I'd like to know is on page 13, item 10, who suggested the item related to the district service cabinet meeting report be eliminated? I mean, which member of the board suggested each item? That should have been told too, because who has suggested these and when did this bylaw committee, or who made up these suggestions, better yet? Anybody have an answer?
So Sandy, I can address that if you want.
Go right ahead.
So let's start with Community Board 8, which is a model. Everybody see the website?
Yeah.
It's Community Board 8's website, Bronx Community Board 11, or Bronx Community Board 8. So it says it was amended in 2015. Okay. That was amended in 2015.
We did that's when we did the major bylaw
But
change.
that-
I was on it.
But that's all I see,
The only-
2015. So
So
there's
it's
no
almost-
other amendment? Okay, here's
There are.
1995.
So their bylaws,
2004.
Jeremy, what you're trying to show us is they haven't been
But
amended
I don't,
in
I don't-
years.
the real question is that necessary? We publish, so let me go to our website. When we, first, we've never done that to my knowledge, but let's go to our governance. Now, I just started publishing what we have because we got a request for our bylaws. Prior to 1997, they're not date stamped, but every single bylaws are there. So like, I mean, that's the full thing. I think that's probably more extensive and more, I mean, I don't know what the purpose of the other one is.
Well, I mean, I guess beyond that, Bob, if I understand your questions correctly, it's when were these amendments proposed? I don't know I don't know the procedure for proposing an amendment, but I don't see why it couldn't come directly to the Bylaws Committee. Is that
Yeah,
like
I think
it gets brought to the, or does it go to the full board and then the Bylaws Committee and then back to the full board? Is that the issue?
some of it was brought up at a full board meeting about, say, the agenda and the time and the gallery session. And then Cynthia would say, well, then the bylaws have to meet and we would discuss it. And that's what we've
Yeah.
been doing.
But like each individual time where full board is mentioned and has to be changed from lowercase f, lowercase b to capital F, capital B, I think that bringing that up, each instance of that, or changing chair to chairperson and chairperson back to chair, because I'm sure that was changed one way and now is getting changed back, that each of those changes were not brought up to the full board. So it gets
Those can be
It
paraphrased.
be
That
brought
can
up.
change all small case to uppercase. There are certain items that you can paraphrase together.
Well, when you see here, when they're approved in January 2024, October 2023, I mean, that tells you that they were voted on that month. So you just look at the full board agenda, you can look at the preceding month or whatever.
Right, and we seem to be meeting more than Community Board 8, who didn't meet them for bylaws in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't care
So-
what Community Board 8 does.
I'm just saying.
You know,
It's not only Community Board 8, it's other community boards.
Just saying, that's the one you mentioned and that's the one we showed.
I think it's important to
But who
clarify.
has,
Ones that
who has
publish their
proposed
bylaws,
these
a lot of them
amendments?
don't.
Who proposed the amendments?
They came from all over.
From all over, from,
I heard the district manager say he proposed some of them.
Indeed, he
I-
may.
I got the sign off from the chair. She put it under her report.
So the chair is saying to get rid of the report that the district manager does for the district service cabinet meeting.
No,
that
don't
conversation-
misread what that means.
Yeah.
Don't misread what that means.
Then who suggested it?
But let me, do you want me, hold on, let me go to the agenda.
back and forth, and really we've got two questions. We've got
Chair, take control of the meeting, Chair. Chair, take
and
control of the
who
meeting.
proposed.
right. And I think they've been
Okay.
answered. In the sense that it was brought up
Yeah,
by,
we don't have the complete answer on
Complete
it,
answer.
everyone.
but
Do we
someone.
need that?
I
This is,
don't-
it's a working doc, it's a draft. Nothing has been approved, nothing is official. It's a working draft of tweaks and changes to the bylaws.
That we would like to see changed.
When did the bylaw committee meet to do this? It's supposed to have been a public meeting to check. You had to have a public meeting so you could have input from the public at
So
the
what do you
end.
think you're doing, Bob? You're giving input right now.
So as I understand it, the process is it gets brought to the full board, which is done in December in the chair's report, correct?
This is a major
it is.
revision. This is
Bob,
not
sorry, I'm not asking you,
something
Bob.
that the public or anybody, I'll bet you more than half your board members don't know about it.
Did we talk about, these changes were presented in December, correct?
The ones
Yes,
about
they're
the
on the
gallery
report.
sessions, et
So,
cetera. The big one.
Then they come here to us
They tweak
and then they get voted on, but we can't vote on them this time, so they
Right.
can't become bylaws this month, so we'll have to meet again next month, and then hopefully we'll be
Right.
able to do it in February.
Right,
So that's the process. They were brought up in December. We're talking about them now. Hopefully we won't have to talk for very long in February.
right.
And then full board will get to vote on them in February. So as I understand it, Bob, the process that we have in place is being followed.
We'll see what the borough president says. Thank you.
Rich,
No,
You
I
know-
think, no, Ryan, you're spot on. Exactly. That's what the process is. You meeting today, you don't have quorum, you meet again next month, and then you bring to full board, then you have the vote. That's the process. Thanks.
I'd like to be recognized in the
Yes,
gallery section.
David, go ahead.
Ryan, would you be kind enough to give me 2 minutes and?
Of course.
Let
And
me know when I can start.
Go ahead.
My name is David Levitt, and I'm a member of the Community Board 11. I'm speaking tonight about the proposed change to Article 8, Section 2, subsection 10. The proposal is to relieve the district manager of the obligation to publish a monthly written report on actions taken at the district service cabinet meeting and issues affecting the community. The report is an important milestone for the district manager so that we know what he's doing and when he's doing it. The district manager has not posted a monthly written report to the board's website in over a year, and the district manager rarely, if ever, reports on his actions on behalf of the community during his monthly oral reports at the full board meeting. I believe, as a proud rank and file member of the board, that I have a right to know what the district manager is doing on a monthly basis. I also believe, as the elected representatives of the community board, that the board officers have an obligation to compel the report. Frankly, I'm shocked at the proposal to remove this important obligation from the bylaws. I also think that this requirement gives the district manager an important opportunity to showcase the actions he's taking every month on behalf of the community board. At the very least, this proposed rule change should be separated from the other proposed changes
30
so that
seconds.
we can have a full discussion and a vote on this issue when and if it comes before the full board. I intend to speak on this issue at the full board meeting.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
David, and if you needed more time, I would have given it to you. Thank you.
David, may I respond?
All right, go ahead, Cynthia, then, Roxanne.
So Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. I did have a conversation with Kira at the BP's office. I think it was on this item. And I told her that that it was not something that was written in stone or anything. It was a suggestion, and that the bylaws committee and the full board can then take the lead on that and vote on it accordingly. So basically, I'm hearing what you're saying.
So if I'm allowed to speak at this point?
Jeremy.
Well,
What's next anyhow?
you don't have a quorum, so, but I request we go into executive session
I'm not going into
to
executive.
to discuss pending litigation.
We can't go into executive
No,
session
no,
without a real meeting, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not an
Roxanne,
official meeting, so,
Right.
I mean, why not?
It's 30 seconds long. Just so you know, in the city charter, it mandates within 2 weeks, minutes of district service cabinet. That's city charter. Your bylaws is not, even though it's a legal document, it cannot supersede the city charter. It's the law of the
So
city.
I thought I was speaking, not somebody else.
Reasons of I will send you the excerpt. Don't believe me. Please,
I didn't,
Excuse me,
Wait,
Madam Chair, I was speaking,
please stop
I had a
interrupting.
question.
I will provide you with the excerpt of the city charter tomorrow.
I don't know why I'm not allowed to get my question addressed, but everybody else is.
No,
Jeremy, he did,
She was-
so before you started, after David, before David even started, Sandy said David and then recognized Roxanne, so you
All
were
right, I apologize.
her, I guess.
Withdraw.
you kept it, I just want to again clarify. The bylaws is a legal document, but it does not supersede the city charter. In the city charter, it does state that one of the few responsibilities this managers have is to do monthly district service cabinet as well as provide minutes of those meetings. Thank you so much. I will provide evidence of that. Thank you.
Given that, I don't see any reason to keep this number 10, but just make sure that those minutes get, would that
No, but two different things. Roxanne is right. She's talking about the district service cabinet meeting minutes, which is separate from the district manager's report on the actions he's taking on what is discussed at the district service cabinet meeting.
But neither have been done.
So can I be recognized again?
Yeah, now it's Jeremy.
So whether we do it here, do it at the full board, again, I request an executive session to discuss pending litigation.
Discuss litigation.
Yeah, pending litigation.
Not here, not tonight. First of all, we don't even have a quorum.
I mean, we can do it publicly too if you want. I don't care. Up to you.
You want to bring it up now? Fine. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I can speak publicly. I'm just trying to be mindful of, the board here. So this thing was created, this is David Levitt's proposal, 2013. He proposed this comprehensive monthly written report. John Fratta was never required to do this. I think it was an attempt to get me to be more like John Fratta. I mean, frankly, if you don't know what I do as a district manager, I'm sorry. I think most of you know what I do. I mean, I speak to you, most of you, on if not a daily, a weekly basis. So, any litigation. I still have an open EEO complaint. The state moved to dismiss. The appeal, I got notified by my attorney today, appeal's moving forward. Unequal treatment, again, I have so many more responsibilities than my predecessor ever had. If you want me to focus on my DSC minutes, fine. Do the full board on your own. Take me out of it, have Harry and Chris do it. I'll be happy to relieve some responsibility so I can do what I need to. You want to keep this monthly report, but again, it's been nothing against me. We can go back to mistruths being spoken in during the EEO hearing, right? Mr. David Levitt. We can go into that too. Because in hindsight, yeah, there's some things I should have picked up during that hearing, but I don't know why people are allowed to lie. Or maybe they didn't consciously, maybe it's not conscious. But it's really unfair the way I've been treated by this organization throughout my years.
It's 30 seconds. I'm going to call it a gallery time.
I just want to say one more thing, if I'm allowed. I served 14 months in Iraq. People have literally tried to kill me. But I've had more nightmares because of this job than Iraq. I'm done.
are there any more people from the gallery who would like to speak?
I'll go real quick. I think whatever was brought up today, we can't vote. We all know that. I think obviously it's been a good conversation. Nothing can be voted on. We got voted on next month. Let's talk about it next month. I don't think it's worth us even like spinning our wheels right now. We know what we have in front of us. I think we should just move on, call it a night. That's just my suggestion.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
It's good to
I
see.
agree. I would motion to adjourn.
Adjourn the non-meeting.
Right, meeting adjourned at 9:15 PM. Jeremy, you could turn off the.
Thank you.
Thursday.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you all for coming. Dave.
Good night.